Before these islands became known by the name we call them today, they were already carrying stories. Stories carried by the people who lived beside these waters. Stories carried across generations. Stories that traveled farther than the voices that first told them. Among those stories was the tale that gave these islands their name, Gigantes, the Islands of Giants. For generations, people spoke of discoveries made within these caves, of enormous bones, of ancient remains, of coffins said to have been found among the stone chambers. There were accounts of these discoveries, records of what people believed they had found, stories that raised questions about who once walked these islands. But time changes what it touches. Some things are preserved, some things disappear. The evidence connected to these stories is no longer easily found. The certainty that once surrounded them has become part of the past, yet the story itself remained. That is the strange power of a legend. It does not live only inside proof. It lives in the people who continue carrying it, in the voices that repeat it, in the places that hold it, in the generations that refuse to let it disappear. Standing among these islands, I was reminded that a path is not only the ground we travel, it is also what we choose to carry. And within the stone, I noticed something, a pattern, one I had encountered before. Not the same story, not the same place, but a familiar trace, as though different paths could leave behind the same memory. After leaving the islands of Gigantes, I continued along the path. The story of the islands stayed with me, a story that survived because people continued carrying it. But as I walked farther into Panay, I found another kind of keeper, not a keeper of stone, not a keeper of places, a keeper of words. For generations, communities in Panay preserved their history through oral tradition. Before stories were written in books, they were remembered through voices, songs, poems, genealogies, long epics that could take hours, sometimes days, to tell. Among the people connected to this tradition were the Binukot, young women who were carefully raised and prepared to carry important knowledge of their community. Their role was not simply to remember words. They were entrusted with stories that carried the identity of their people. From an early age, they were taught the traditions that had been passed down before them. They learned the songs, the old narratives, the history of families and ancestors, the customs and values that shaped the community around them. This required patience. It required discipline. It required years of listening, because these stories were not meant to be repeated without understanding. They carried the experiences of generations before them, the struggles, the victories, the beliefs, and the lessons people chose to keep. The world changed. New ways of sharing knowledge appeared. The role of the Binukot changed over time, but the importance of what they carried remained. Walking this path, I have met many kinds of keepers. Some protect forests, some protect crafts, some protect sacred places. The Binukot protected the stories that told a people who they were, and perhaps that is why these traditions matter. Because a place is not remembered only by its mountains, rivers, or buildings. It is remembered by the people who carry its voice. In Panay, I had seen stories carried through voices. I had seen people entrusted with the words of those who came before them. But in Iloilo, I found another way that memory continues, through the hands. Hablon is the traditional weaving craft of Iloilo. For generations, weavers have transformed simple threads into cloth using skill passed down over time. The process requires patience. Each movement must be learned. Each pattern must be understood. A piece of fabric does not appear all at once. It is created step by step, thread by thread. With every movement, the weaver makes choices that shape the final design. The knowledge behind weaving is not only about making something beautiful, it is about knowing where the craft came from, the methods taught by earlier generations, the patterns created by those who worked before, the discipline that allowed the tradition to continue. Like every living tradition, Hablon has changed. New influences arrived. New designs appeared. The world around the weavers continued to move, but the craft remained connected to the hands that carried it. Walking this path, I have learned that keeping something alive does not always mean leaving it unchanged. Sometimes it means allowing it to grow, while remembering where it began. The Binukot carried stories through their voices. The weavers of Iloilo carried theirs through their hands. Different ways of preserving the past, both requiring someone willing to continue. And as I watched the threads come together, I understood something about the path. It is not only the places we visit, it is the work people do to make sure something valuable reaches the next generation. After seeing stories carried by voices and traditions carried by hands, I followed another path, the river. Long before roads connected distant places, rivers and seas were already bringing people together. They were routes of travel, routes of exchange, routes where different worlds met. The Iloilo River became part of the life of the communities around it. People traveled through these waters. They traded. They built relationships. They brought goods from one shore to another. But trade was never only about objects. Every person who arrived carried something with them. A language, a belief, a tradition, a story from the place they came from. Over time, these encounters became part of Iloilo itself. The city became a place shaped by movement, not only by those who stayed, but also by those who passed through. This is how places grow, not by remaining separate from the world, but by meeting it, learning from it, and choosing what to carry forward. Walking along the river, I saw another part of the path. A path is not always a road that leads somewhere. Sometimes it is the meeting point where many journeys become one. The people who came before left traces behind, in the language, in the buildings, in the traditions, in the way Iloilo remembers itself. The river showed me how people and ideas traveled. But in the city, I found something that stayed. Places that carried the marks of those who came before. Buildings are often thought of as objects, stone, wood, walls, but a place becomes more than its materials. It becomes a witness to everything that happened around it. These streets have seen generations change. They have seen celebrations, hard times, new beginnings. They have watched the city grow into something different from what it once was. Time always moves forward. Cities expand. New structures rise. Old ones become harder to protect. But preservation is a choice. A community decides what deserves to remain. Not because the past should replace the present, but because the past helps explain how the present came to be. Walking through Iloilo, I noticed that the old and the new were not enemies. They existed together. A city does not remain alive by freezing in time. It remains alive by remembering while continuing forward. The stories of Gigantes, the voices that carried traditions, the hands that shaped Hablon, the river that connected distant shores. All of them became part of the same place. Not one memory, not one story, but many pieces that formed the identity of Iloilo. Every place I have walked has carried something important. Sometimes it is easy to notice. A monument, a landmark, a story everyone knows. But many of the things that matter most are quieter. They survive in the hands of ordinary people. People who continue traditions without needing recognition. People who teach because someone taught them before. People who protect something because they understand its value. To the people of Iloilo, you are the reason these stories continue. The legends, the songs, the crafts, the places, they remain because someone chooses to carry them. The world around us will always change. New roads will appear. New buildings will rise. New generations will grow. But what connects one generation to the next depends on what we decide not to forget. A place is not remembered only by what was left behind. It is remembered by the people who continue giving it life. The path continues because there are still people willing to walk it, and because there are still memories worth carrying. When I left Iloilo, I thought about everything I had encountered. An island that carried a legend, people who carried stories, hands that carried a craft, a river that carried journeys from distant shores. At first, these seemed like different things, different places, different histories. But after walking many paths, I learned something. Places are not remembered by one story alone. They are remembered by everything people continue to carry. The stories of a place can travel. A song can cross water. A craft can reach another generation. A tradition can survive far from where it began. The sea has always connected people, long before borders were drawn, long before maps showed every route. People were already moving, meeting, sharing, leaving pieces of themselves behind. I do not know how far these paths reach, but I know this: wherever people carry what matters to them, the path remains. And beyond the horizon, there are still places waiting to be remembered.